Dude,
there it is.
that's Smylie Kaufman for 61. Wow.
I'm Smylie Kaufman, and this is The Smylie Show.
Welcome back to The Smylie Show. The 2024 President's Cup is officially in the books, and as Smylie Kaufman predicted, the United States of America wins 19-12. Way to nail that prediction last night, Smylie. Really just, and actually it kind of worked out nicely. You were right there near being on the money. You just gave a little half bonus point. It's like, how you get 400 points for signing your name on the SAT. You just gave him a little bonus point. Got him to 19-12. I like that.
What was the final?
It was 18.5 to 11.5.
Yeah.
So, in and around it.
Man, oh man, oh man. That's when you look at it, years down the road, you're going to see that big wide margin of victory. And it just felt so much closer to that so often during this President's Cup. But still, the final score is indicative of just that the Americans dominate the international team every 2 years.
Yeah, he is Smylie Kaufman, fresh off the course, walking with a number of different groups today, closing this thing out. I'm Charlie Hume, just using my last opportunity to really bring home my Team USA assistant captain garb. I'm just really proud that I have this stuff. I'm going to wear it as often as possible. We're a month out from Halloween. Felt like just let's go ahead and give this one last go. And we can't get into this episode. We got a lot of stats we're going to get into, break this thing down in full form. The last couple nights we've done our journal entries, but this will be a full episode tonight. But we have to just thank some partners this week who brought the show to all of you this week. So let's just start with the head. Great gear. Still loving this Brandon Bills hat. Loving all the polos that I have in the rotation now. And so if you're a merch guy, ahead. But if you're an organization looking to build or manage a digital platform with a partner that'll bring a consultative approach, unmatched engineering, and innovative solutions to accelerate your impact, check out Ahead right now at ahead.com. And a big thanks to them for all of their support this week. And also the Recovery Pin. recoverypin.com. I mean, you and I, we've offered a number of different examples. You've been using it this week, needling on the show.
Yes.
I'll say it's actually been a lifesaver. Like baby girl is arriving any day now. My wife's just going through it, massive headaches. And she commandeered my recovery pin for the last 24 to 36 hours and was happy to give it up to her. So it's good stuff. It's really good stuff. We're enjoying using it. So thanks to,
I really do love the recovery pen, and yes, thank you Ahead for helping us get these shows out to you guys this week. And I'll send this recovery pen to one of the listeners, Charlie, if you can guess how many steps within 500 steps I took today.
So if I guess this correctly, within 500 steps, one of the listeners is going to get the recovery pin. Do I have that correct? That's the nature of the competition?
Yes.
All right. So you were at 27,000 yesterday, and you had a morning and an afternoon session. So you did 36 holes total. Today, you just had 18 holes for singles, but you didn't just do one group. They looped you back, do another group. So you were probably in the, all right, I'm going to go 22,500.
It's not quite right. 14,977.
Great guess, Charlie.
There was one lucky fan out there that was just sitting there waiting. They could be using the recovery pen, but now they'll just have to go check out the website and have to order it themselves. But maybe next year.
It's only 7,000 steps and change off. It was or 9,000. Not a math pod. Still not a math pod in any way, shape, or form. You were just noting kind of some of those margins and the stuff like that, and just the way that it just feels like Thursday and Friday were so abnormal and so unique for this competition. And then Saturday and Sunday felt a little closer to what we've watched the past couple of years. And the scoreline ends up where the scoreline does. So back to the well with Justin Ray Golf, who's like just our stats guru, shaman, whisperer, any of those number of things. So a couple tweets from him. This will be the largest margin of victory for the away team in President's Cup history. And with this win, the United States are now 13-1-1 all time in the event, with a lone international win coming in 1998. The Americans have led after 41 of the last 46 sessions in the event, dating back to 2005 singles. So, Smylie, I was hitting the panic button on Thursday after a 5-0 U.S. sweep. I was saying we got to blow this thing up. I was suggesting different formats, suggesting a mixed version of this event. Are you anywhere near that now? Even after all the back and forth and the internationals kind of making it close after Friday heading into the weekend, are you anywhere near we need to reconfigure this competition after looking at this scoreline and where this finished up?
I personally think the President's Cup is although you haven't had the results from the international side, I still find it fantastic theater. I mean, this week I really just it felt closer than what the score showed. And on foreign soil, being Royal Montreal, it was, it had so much juice. The fans were incredible. Thursday, I would say that maybe is one day too many in this. Is somehow can you shrink it up a little bit to where the international team isn't quite as exposed with their depth? To me, like singles, for example, just the advantage that the Americans have, just with their, how deep they are, their world ranking advantage is 20 when you look at the averages. So, with that being said, it just, I like the President's Cup. I enjoy watching anything that guys care about and show emotion. So personally, no, but is there a way in which you can do a cool team format? Well, we kind of do that with Grant Thornton, but does it really work? I think you really have to involve, pride in who you play for and why you're out there competing. And I think it would be cool to have a team room with mixed teams and maybe just find a way and you can work that in the schedule every year. Cause I think it would be pretty cool to have US versus the world. And just, I think it would be pretty incredible.
I think it feels like the show position is we want this thing to look closer to the Ryder Cup 3-day event. As you just kind of noted at the top of your answer there, like Friday through Sunday at Royal Montreal were electric. The fans showed up in a big way. Thursday, a little more subdued. We're not sure why that was the case, but it was the case, and it showed up in the score line. So I think it feels like we're on the same page of, can we get this thing to 3 days? I think also, and it's interesting, even the quotes leading up to this, I think it was Adam Scott who was saying that just being asked about his involvement in negotiations with the PIF and LIV and saying optimistic date for a potential reunification is 2026. A more realistic date would be 2027. That is what that means is that we'd have one more President's Cup under this current sort of talent imbalance. And it's a shame because I don't know where Cam Smith and Joaquin Niemann and a number of others games are going to be in 2028. When this thing could potentially be reunified and we could have a more stocked international roster, because it feels like we're missing out on some of those primes, those guys that really could have kept this thing a little closer. I would have loved to have seen Cam Smith in the lineup today playing singles against one of the best American players. Same for Joaquin Niemann or a number of other guys that could have been in consideration for the international team had we not had this split. But it doesn't feel like we're going to get there fast enough for that to show up and kind of balance this competition. Now, there could be a new wave of talent that comes in at that point. You have a new wave of Australians and South Americans, and it's a different ball game then. But that's kind of, I lament that we missed out on that.
I mean, yeah, I guess so. It could have, if they didn't decide to leave, then that, I think we have that
Their
conversation
choice.
every
Totally.
week, right? So,
Yeah.
But when it comes to the President's Cup and just the competitive nature of it, I still feel like, just watching both teams and how they performed, it was, I thought that the United States was just more clutch. It wasn't about that they were just that much better. They just came up in big moments. And that to me was the difference. And it wasn't as overwhelming as it may look like when you look at the final score, because I saw some incredible golf from the internationals. They really played hard for one another. Now, do I agree with all of the decisions that Mike Weir made? No, I think there's plenty of decisions that we can look at.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Seemed like today too, even the push that they did make, that they did run out of gas and just didn't have enough guys that had played enough this week. I mean, Minwoo Lee only played 2 matches. I think that was a big miss, not getting Minwoo Lee out there playing with Jason Day. Felt like that was a no-brainer decision to put those 2 guys together. And especially because I watched Minwoo play on Thursday. I didn't think he played that poorly. So I don't know what Mike Weir saw that I didn't. I know Mike wasn't really out there. He had another captain walking with that group. I personally just don't understand how you're not playing Minwoo Lee more than just 2 sessions. And yeah, I think you got to give a lot of credit to Jim Furyk. I really was impressed with the lineups that he put out, even after he was talking about how, he just felt more prepared for this President's Cup. And just even listening to some of the guys too, Charlie, just the players, it sounds like he's the old football coach, like the old Mike Ditka in the locker room, just a real hard-nosed Midwest guy that, he will crack a joke every now and then and everybody doesn't know whether to laugh or not type of guy. And that's the type of hard-nosed football coach that I think Jim Furyk was in that locker room, like just steady Eddie as they go, same message, and then tough on the guys, but also loved on the guys, and then tried to have fun with the guys, but like sometimes it hit, sometimes it didn't. That's kind of the vibe that I got of what that locker room was like.
I think you nailed it as far as I could tell, because on the way in, the whole kerfluffle he had with, I think it was Adam Schupak, of just, him suggesting, hey, it'd just be nice if the internationals could win this thing or contend for the event. And it was like he went into full Nick Saban rat poison mode of like, I'm not trying to hear that. So I thought that was hilarious. There were a couple of moments, I think last night as we were recording and I was listening into the announcing of pairings, he got out of order for a second. He's trying to clarify, and there was a moderator that was trying to explain to him the order in which they were supposed to go. All that is to say that I love it's an apt description. Midwestern football coach is kind of our Jim Furyk this week, and he did a great job with it. And I think,
he definitely did. Yeah. And I think it's good for us to look at all of the records. I think it'd be fun for you to just kind of run through this and just kind of give overall grades of how these guys performed, if you want to go through a grade system and as we kind of look forward to the rest of the year.
So I do want to get there. We have sessions played for each of these guys. We have points won. And I think that's the breadth of this episode, just kind of going through each of those lineups. the thing I want to just I want to close the loop on a discussion we had last night, because there were more developments that happened after that, and I think it connects to the discussion we're having about the President's Cup as an entertaining product, because there was a lot more that happened in terms of extracurriculars this week than we've seen in past President's Cups. So we talked last night about the whole Tom Kim's comments after the, saying that there may be some unsportsmanlike behavior coming from the American side towards the internationals, which was a bit rich coming from a guy who had been engaging in the theatrics all week long and pumping his fist and everything. And to be fair to Tom, he noted that. He said, hey, I know I've been doing this. I like it. I'm just saying some of it felt like it crossed the line. So then there was subsequently a video posted of Patrick Cantlay sinking that putt in the dark to win the final point of Saturday's session. And, panning over to Wyndham Clark, who's responding to Siwoo Kim's night-night celebration, saying, night-night, boys. That was subsequently quote tweeted by Ben On, who I'm paraphrasing here is like,
I love Ben. Ben On's great on Twitter. He's not afraid to take a shot.
Well, so he said basically like, it's always the guys that aren't doing anything that are talking crap or something like that. And then that was posted, and Wyndham Clark commented on that on Instagram or some of the social platforms and said, it's always the guys without a tee time that are chiming in. Again, I'm paraphrasing all this stuff, but I think, we had a lot of that this week. We had Scotty barking at Tom Kim on Thursday, which I thought was, tremendous. We had some putts that were, a little bit of frustration. They weren't given, some measuring with grips and things of that nature with Tom Kim yesterday. So I just, on that piece of the things, like, is that starting to do it for you? I assume you don't think any of this crossed the line. Maybe you did. For me, I love that this adds a sort of intrigue factor. It gives us stuff to talk about, in a competition that can be lopsided. What did you think of all the extracurricular stuff this week in Montreal?
Well, just talking to some guys on the range, I was just trying to get any clarification from the American side, right? I just wanted to know, hey, did y'all figure it out? Who was it? And everyone that I talked to said that they didn't know what Tom Kim was referring to. But then I also heard from somebody else that said, yes, something happened. And this is from the international side. And we just don't want to disclose who it was. Like, we just don't feel like it's in the spirit of the competition to name who it was. Apparently it was a player, maybe two players and a caddy. That was the rumor.
Interesting.
Similar to what Tom said. But that was also not from the American side. The Americans said, we don't know what you're talking about. I think Jim Furyk went around the room and asked, like, did you say it? Did you say it? And so somebody's either lying or so. And so if I did say
classic,
it, I would have been like,
broken vase on the floor, 3 kids in the kitchen. Which one of you did it? Oh, definitely was not me. 100% was not me.
Nope.
Yeah.
Yep,
that whole thing was a lot of intrigue. I want to say this too, for a guy that catches a lot of flack. I was so amused by Patrick Cantlay this entire weekend. I think this was Saturday. This was Saturday, either morning or afternoon, when they were announced on the tee, and they're just raining booze down on him. And he had this little like smirk on his face. Thank you, waving at the crowd. I thought that was hilarious. And then just the making that putt, the back and forth between that group all day long. And goes up and sits at the podium last night and is, hey, Tom said this. What do you think about it? He's like, listen, like, this kind of stuff happens. Like, we know we're going to go on the road. They're going to give us flack. So I was like, you know what? Some credit to Patrick Cantlay, a guy that, we kind of give a hard time for some of these situations, was just embracing the moment and kind of, living it up and enjoying the villain role. I thought it was hilarious.
That was one of the coolest scenes there with the sunset late in the evening, all of your teammates and wives and great spectators and crowd just gathered around that 18th green. And it just was a good old fashioned putt off right there at the end. And I love to see it out of Patrick, right? Like, I'd love to see, Patrick take that step and be able to win a major, which I know he's fully capable of doing, right? He's, if anything, you just want to see, I like to see players that are elite, have big moments to just kind of prove it to themselves that they're capable of pulling off, whatever is in front of them. And I think Patrick Cantlay's had a really step in the right direction this year with his performance at the U.S. Open, just being right there at the end. I think a lot of people forget that he was, only a shot away, really, from being right there with Rory and Bryson there on Sunday. Played fantastic. He's been so good on the PGA Tour and has had plenty of opportunities. And this week was one of the highest point scoring total guys of the American team at 4-1.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
So that's a perfect segue into what you kind of teed up earlier is let's just start with the American side. And I'm just going to go through Smylie and read you points won and sessions played. And the way I've sort of ranked this is the tiebreaker is if a guy won the equal amount of points with less sessions, I put him higher on the list because he was more efficient with his opportunities. And then if there was still a tiebreaker there, it's just alphabetical. So I'm just going to start at the top here. Patrick Cantlay wins 4 points from 5 sessions. Colin Morikawa also wins 4 points from 5 sessions, as does Xander Schauffele. Those were your 3 guys that kind of carried the team this week. Then a guy you've been talking about a lot this week, played really well and had a back and forth with Tom Kim today. It was highly entertaining. Sam Burns, 3.5 points out of 4 sessions. Then Russell Henley, 3 points in 4 sessions. Scotty Scheffler, 3 points in 5 sessions. Keegan Bradley, 2 points in 3 sessions. Tony Finau, 2 points in 4 sessions. Sid Theegala, 1.5 in 3 sessions. Wyndham Clark, 1.5 in 4 sessions. Max Homa, 1 point in 3 sessions. And Brian Harman, no points in 3 sessions. So I'll let you that's your full list. We're both looking at it right now. Where do you want to kind of start in terms of breaking down a player performance?
Yeah, let's just start there at the top in that group. I know I mentioned Patrick Cantlay from and the other 2 guys that had the most points was Colin Morikawa and Xander Schauffele. Both of those 2 guys also played 5 sessions alongside Patrick Cantlay and Scotty Scheffler. I could not have been more impressed with Colin Morikawa this week. He blew me away. He is 1,000% all the way back. There was no doubt in my mind this guy's going to win a major very soon. Just his control with his irons is unlike anything you'll ever see. It's just every shot that he hits, just pin high, pin high, pin high. And then his drives off the tee. You know when a guy is driving it really well is when they get to their finish and the shaft of the club hits the back of their spine and the back of their neck and bounces off every single time. It's just so much freedom in his golf swing and just hit it so well this week. So props to you for getting Colin Morikawa right for the most points scored for the U.S. team, and I would have loved.
We both kind of had that. I just got drafted first. Yeah,
you drafted first. So, and also Xander just was a dog.
Yeah.
Love to see him. Love to see him lighting up cigars anytime the U.S. wins. It's kind of the one thing you to expect out of Xander Schauffele is that he's going to be very tough to beat, and again, very tough to beat this week. Couldn't have been more impressed as well with just how hard he is hitting the golf ball. I think people just don't realize how ridiculously far he's hitting it. It's just so impressive to watch him drive it. And, you had him in one of those groups where you were just noting that it was, I forget which hole, I should have written it down, but just where he had a wedge in where other guys were hitting like mid and long irons, and just the leap he's made this past year. It's amazing. It's insane. He's cruising in like mid 180s, which, if I swing as hard as I can, I'll be lucky to touch mid 180s. So it's just so impressive to watch, a guy work his tail off, being so good in the weight room, completely change his game by just, working his tail off and having really good technique and a good coach to be able to maximize, hard work and effort and be able to get the results from it.
Yeah, I think that group, just to start back at the top with Colin Morikawa, just this whole year, it's insane that he did not win a tournament this year, although he did. He won the Tour Championship, right? And that is
stop you.
Well, that's the irony of the year, right? Is that he won the one event where it's not starting at zero for everybody. But this to me is a great finish for him on a great year. And I don't know how much he wants to play in the fall or plans to play in the fall, but I just hope he kind of keeps that. I'd assume he plays Zozo. I'd assume he defends Zozo. Not sure where else he's going to play, but I think that I just hope he carries this momentum into 2025.
Yes,
because he's putting it so good. As you mentioned, the ball striking is just it's back to where he was when he was winning those majors, in 2020 and 2021, 100%. But maybe even a step better. It feels like sometimes
stats don't say that from 2024. Actually, one of the things that I think we second guessed or question, I'd say, with Jim Furyk's pairing on the afternoon in which the Americans got swept, they put Sahith Theegala on the odd holes, which has all the par threes. And so we're like, why are they putting Colin Morikawa on the odd holes? But then I dug into it a little bit. And actually, Colin Morikawa, he's first in putts per green this year, first in putts average. His strokes gained putting, oddly enough, is somehow like 40th, which doesn't make any sense. He's like first in so many putting categories. So that's been the huge jump this year for Colin, is that his putting has been so good. And we noted that throughout the year, if you've been listening to the show, is that the putting has allowed freedom for his ball striking to come back. And don't get me wrong, it's good, but the proximity stats, the just greens of regulation, his overall strokes gained approach, those stats are not as strong as you think they would be. But that is a full year of 2024 in which he got better as the year went on. So I would say that as we get into 2025, expect to see those stats go back to what you're accustomed to.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Simply put, the only way to bet this is over/under win total. I love Tyronn Lue. I think he's one of the 5 best coaches in the league. But my dear friend George Sorlis told us to me a long time ago, you can't win if you don't got the talent. Unfortunately, I don't think the Clippers have the talent to match up.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Brian Dable has been feeling it. He's in a foul mood. He's having stare downs with Pat Leonard and everything else.
John Mara wants Brian Dable to go and get the next quarterback. They tried to get the next quarterback. We all watched it on Hard Knocks. They couldn't end up with Daniels. They couldn't end up with May. So they said, okay, we'll run it back a year. We'll go get Neighbors, and we'll tolerate.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
It just seems like Cantlay always shows up for these team competitions, and just increasingly so. Maybe not his entire career, but just these last few years really has been nails in these competitions and really kind of steps up to the plate, and doesn't always seem like that transfers to individual play and winning tournaments, and obviously not winning a major yet. But this could be the boost he needs to kind of go into 2025 and do the same thing Xander did this last year of going out and winning a major.
He hits it pretty far. I think there's still some room. Like if he wanted to go have an off season in which he wanted to put on some weight.
Do you think he'll pursue it after watching his best friend on tour do it?
He hits it plenty far enough. But if the one thing
was he longer than Xander prior to Xander doing the speed?
They were probably about the same. Maybe Xander's a little bit further, but Patrick's just overall ball flight. It's a little lower. He doesn't hit it quite as high. But he's got a ton of control. He still hits it plenty far. He's probably a mid to high 170s ball speed guy, which is plenty far, right? I'm just saying if we're going to start talking about Patrick Cantlay as like superstar, elite type of abilities, he's near the top or elite in just about every one. But is it just a little bit more? Can you reach a little bit further to try to, take that next step to be able to, be a guy that's competing in majors year in and year out?
Now, how about that next group? Because, Sam Burns these past few years, the win-loss record at Quail Hollow did not look good, but we've noted numerous times it was a stroke play event. He would have either won it or been right there in contention. Then that, gives him a sort of set of question marks surrounding his captain's pick going into Rome. No one plays particularly well there other than maybe Max Homa, but he didn't play bad there. And then he shows up here, plays 4 sessions, takes 3.5 points out of those sessions. So that group of Burns at 3.5, Russell Henley at 3 as a rookie, phenomenal. I mean, paired with Scotty, but was a huge contributor to that pairing. And then Scotty at 3. What are your takeaways from that sort of group?
So let's start with Sam Burns. I was so impressed with Sam this week. He was hitting it so well. I know he said he didn't iron it quite as good today. I didn't get to watch Sam play.
The wedge shot at 18 was unbelievable. No.
Oh, his chip.
I
saw the chip. I saw the
chip. Yeah, I should have. Yeah.
I saw the chip. I heard him say he didn't like the iron shot and pulled it left. But apparently he got very lucky with the lie, according to what I heard.
Yeah. But anyway, sorry.
No, all good. No, he's so Sam is a guy that I think you said it perfectly in that he was a player that was unlucky with how well he played and didn't get quite all the points out of it. And I even think back to on Sunday at the Ryder Cup this past year, he was paired up against Rory McIlroy, and I was covering that match. I think Rory was like 8 or 9 under and Sam was like 7 under, lost on 17. She's like, what are you going to do? Right. Rory's Ryder Cup Sunday mode. And it's just hard to beat Rory on Sundays at Ryder Cup, especially if he's got it going, which he did that day. But I think he's the type of building blocks for, what this future team is going to look like. He's 6-5-1 in these Ryder Cup and President's Cup. So he's, got a winning record that is above 500 on a losing Ryder Cup team and on a President's Cup team 2 years ago where he was unlucky. So when you look at it from that standpoint, you're like, oh, you know what? He's could be a breakout superstar as we continue on. And the next, my sleeper for the week was Russell Henley. Yeah. And he obviously had Scotty Scheffler as a partner. So if he, that's an opportunity to get more points when you're playing with Scotty. But Russell was lights out, and you could hear guys talking about him all week, how impressive he was. I think too, he honestly, although he's a Georgia Bulldog and he's very, Southern dude, he's a type of player that the Europeans have, which is a guy that just hits fairways, hits greens,
steady.
and
So
just
steady.
steady Eddie. Could be a type of player that you see in future Ryder Cups, just because of his ability just to be in the hole over and over again.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I wanted to kind of close out this show with just taking a quick peek at the Ryder Cup sort of point standings heading into Bethpage in 2025. And this list says it was last updated July 22nd. He is 9th on that list. And I think, who knows how he's going to play this next year. But I think after watching this week, Keegan's been in the locker room with him this entire week. He's got to take a long, hard look at taking, Russell, no matter where he ends up on those standings, because he paired so well with the best player in the world, Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah, and it's all going to be course related. So Bethpage is a big ballpark. You'd like guys that you would hit it long and straight, give you an opportunity. I've played this course. It's very, very challenging. But, Russell...
Straight's got help there, though, right? Rough's no good at the Bethpage.
Yeah, the rough's not great at Bethpage. And I guess the last guy in this little group we're talking about is Keegan Bradley. I mean, here's the guy that closed the cup out. So I think that's one conversation we got to definitely get into.
Well, yeah. I mean, we can skip over Scotty now and discuss it later. I mean, I felt like, obviously Hideki played great in that singles match today, and then everyone got buzzsawed on Friday. So 3 points there, definitely better than the way Scotty's played in the last two iterations of this competition. And so, a solid week for him, even though he's not at the top there with Cantlay, Morikawa, and Shoffley. But yeah, moving to Keegan, I mean, it was so cool to see his emotion of being the guy that got it done. Sort of a poetic turn of events for Siwoo Kim. It wasn't that Keegan necessarily made a putt, but Siwoo, after providing all these huge moments and walking in putts and playing incredibly well all week long, just misses on the low side of the hole, and instead of ripping off 3 hole wins in a row to have that match. But Keegan, super cool to just hear him talk after the match about, never thought I was going to be on one of these teams again. Now I'm the winning point in the President's Cup, and next year, whether or not I'm on this team, this is going to be enough for me.
Yes, 100%. And it was hard not to just get emotional listening to Keegan Bradley talk about just how important this week has been to him. And, that Netflix special just kind of felt like it was, just the beginning of the story for Keegan Bradley, what the rest of his career is going to look like. So just so thrilled for him to be able to be the guy. You couldn't really write it up any better for Keegan.
What about just the remainder of the U.S. roster? I mean, we have Tony Finau back in the mix, gets 2 points out of 4 sessions. Sahith is a rookie, 1.5 points out of 3 sessions is definitely solid. If he'd have played a couple more sessions, who knows how those would have gone. Likely would have added more to those totals. But Wyndham Clark, 1.5 points out of 4 sessions. Curious if you feel like that's okay for him because they ended up winning, or if that's a little bit of a disappointment for a guy who, is considered one of the best in the world and wasn't a qualifier for this team.
Mm-hmm.
And then closing up with Max and Brian Harman, and just how are feeling about the two, what we felt were like maybe the 2 last guys that made it on this team.
Yeah. Well, gosh, I mean, I feel like Max was getting better. Like if he just needed more and more reps, and he played really well today. I think he was like 7 under on his own ball. So obviously played well. Tony Finau was just so disappointing on the greens. He was just shockingly bad at times. And that's exactly what we kind of expected coming into the week, is that he's going to give you some ball striking. Who knows what we're going to get with the putter. We got the bad Tony Finau putter. According to strokes gained, he was the worst putter, losing 4.53 strokes to the field average, which is very poor with the putter. Sahith Theegala, I think just good reps for him. Very, very strong player. I know there's a lot of confidence from the vice captains and the captain about Theegala and his ability to pair with guys. So they obviously feel good about his future. And I just love the way he approaches the game and life. He's just such a fun guy to be around.
It's really interesting looking at that strokes gain list, because Max Homa is 3rd on that list, despite, only taking a point from those sessions. I maybe that's a result.
We might be looking at I'm
looking at Data Golf event total.
Yeah,
I see strokes gain total. I'm seeing max at plus 5.93.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. And that could be a product of who's at the bottom of that list and who he paired with twice. Brian Harmon, who's lost almost.
I think it was a lot about how well he played today, maybe. Because he only played. Think about
3
this,
sessions.
right?
Yeah.
Well, he only played the alternate shot. He never played his own golf ball, so it can kind of skew the data a little bit. Let's see where Harmon is. Well, I guess Harmon must not have played very good at all today in stroke play in singles.
we're not data guys until we're data guys. We're data guys. We look at the numbers and then we kind of just determine how we feel about them.
It's a new era in CFP to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards.
That was
Lincoln!
But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Crew has already clinched the National League Central. They're 2 games behind LA. That being the Dodgers trying to maybe get the 2nd seed in the National League standings for October.
Both of these teams have a chance to score some runs against these pitching matchups, so maybe another over, even though we do have a playoff atmosphere. And yes, Milwaukee did clinch, but there's still an eye on the prize of we might be able to chase down the Dodgers and also the Phillies to get one of those buys.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Brian Dable has been feeling it. He's in a foul mood. He's having stare downs with Pat Leonard and everything else.
John Mara wants Brian Dable to go and get the next quarterback. They tried to get the next quarterback. We all watched it on Hard Knocks. They couldn't end up with Daniels. They couldn't end up with May. So they said, okay, we'll run it back a year. We'll go get Neighbors, and we'll tolerate.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Closing thoughts on President's Cup. I would give a grade for Jim Furyk I thought he was a very strong captain. Give him an A. And Mike, we already said C at best. Royal Montreal started the week. I was at a C, maybe C minus. Thursday after that round, like with Royal Montreal.
You're talking about the course or the fans?
Well, I'm kind of working my way here.
All right.
I'm like, all right, Royal Montreal, like this just isn't the venue. The fans aren't showing up. I went from a C at the beginning of the week to now I'm like C minus, D plus. And then boy, oh boy, every single day this grade went up. It went up from, I think I got it all the way up to a B plus. It was the course grew on me. I would say that the front side was maybe not quite as electric as the back, but there were some really fun holes that I really enjoyed. It was a golf course that, I think lacked a bit of length at times on the front, but the back 9 really, really had some incredible holes and some big time moments. So, and also huge shout out to the fans. They were incredible. Only a couple instances of barking of words that I caught, but other than that, I just think overall the Montreal Canadiens fans were incredible.
Well, and huge shout out to the fans on site, but also a huge shout out to our fans and our viewers on YouTube, because we kind of put it out there, help us understand Canadian hockey fan bases, and we got so many comments.
We need more hockey talk.
I think that's what I learned this week. We've been doing some college football, NFL talk, but really we need to delve into the hockey world. There's one comment 2 days ago that I just have to read because this is from DM10-R9T on YouTube. So here is it was the most in-depth comment we received on NHL fan bases. So we're just going to just put this out there. And then, if you want to agree or disagree in the comments, you can here as well. But ranking Canadian NHL fan bases by rowdiness is tough because it is subjective and can vary depending on how the team is performing. Montreal, number 1, deep history, loud, passionate fans. Winnipeg, number 2, small market but incredibly vocal, awesome wideouts during the playoffs. Toronto, number 3, huge following, more corporate, intense during playoffs or rival games. Edmonton, number 4, Rogers Place was crazy during the finals this year. Calgary, number 5, known for sea of red, playoff tradition, wild crowds. Vancouver, number 6, great fans to show up in the playoffs. And Ottawa, the Ottawa Senators, unfortunately, bring up the caboose. Quieter fan base, but energetic when the team's good. He actually said something nice about all of those 7 markets. So
it sounds Ottawa's like Mississippi State. Got it.
Wow. The Mississippi State catching a stray there. You hate to see it. Ring your cowbells in the comments if you care to. I think that in terms of what I saw on TV, that sort of tracked, and we really kind of built up a crescendo of energy over the week and kind of went well on the weekend. But I'm so ready for an Australian President's Cup with Adam Scott as like a playing captain. That's on my next wish list. So let's make that happen.
Well, the next one's in Chicago at Medina. Right, so that's gonna be a fun one. They just renovated that golf course. Jeff Ogilvy did. So I imagine he'll probably be the next captain. You'd have to assume. So
Jeff Ogilvy, that could be a little sleeper cell job there. He actually did it to set it up for the internationals. Really.
or maybe Jeff Ogilvy will be the captain. Where's Jeff's from?
Australia.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So maybe he'll be the captain of Royal Melbourne. Who knows?
Yeah. A lot of good Aussie options there. So
yeah, definitely.
Well, okay. So just to briefly flip over, we named a couple of these, but I just wanted to set the table for Bethpage because that's where we're all looking to next. And a total shocker when I pulled this up. Scotty Scheffler is not leading the Ryder Cup point standings, at least as of July 22nd, 2024. I don't know how they're going to factor in FedEx Cup standings, but Xander, number 1 on this list. This was right after his Open Championship win, so that makes sense. Scotty, number 2. Bryson DeChambeau, number 3. Colin Morikawa, number 4. Brian Harman, 5th. Billy Horschel, 6th. Wyndham Clark, 7th. Patrick Cantlay, 8th. Russell Henley, 9th. Tony Finau, 10th. Sahith Theegala, 11th. And Max Homa, 12th.
Brian Harman's 5th?
I'm reading what the official Ryder Cup website tells me. It's also confusing to me because then I'm going further down the list. Sam Burns is 19th. So don't know how to make a lot of sense of that.
I know how important it is to play well in a Ryder Cup year. The points are magnified much more in the year of the Ryder Cup. So yes, there are standings. They're not going to be quite as consequential of how you play in 2025 will ultimately be the X factor of how you make a team.
Yeah, I'm scrolling down. It's a pretty hilarious list when you get a little further down. Keegan Bradley's 26 on this list, so he's gonna have to pick himself if he wants to be a playing captain, or he can go out and play great this time.
I want Keegan playing in the Ryder Cup, and I think him and as a playing captain, he's the perfect playing captain.
He said that to us in Atlanta. Do you think he really? I just wonder how his mindset on that's going to shift over the course of this next year. Obviously, a lot of that depends on how he plays.
I think it would be the players coming to him. There's going to be 6 players that qualify in points, and they're going to meet like they do once the points are finalized, and talk about who else they want on the team with them playing. And it's just advice you get from the players. You don't have to take their advice, but they could be like, hey, Keegan, I know you're 11th on the points, but we really want you to be a playing captain. And I think that group of Scotty and Xander, I think they'll be, very, fair to Keegan in this, and you either earned it or you didn't. And I think Keegan will know that if it's close and he's in that 6 to 12, that's kind of the spot in which I think he'll really lean heavily on the players and the vice captains of, hey, does this make sense? But because Keegan's it's a good course fit. Bethpage is for Keegan.
All right. So just for funsies. All right. Just a little time capsule here. We're either going to look back on this and you're going to be hilariously wrong or like on the nose. Just give me your 12 right now. And Bethpage, you think you're going to be there? Or it can be who you like to see there. Just however you want to do it. Just give me a 12-man roster for the Americans.
Okay, I'm just going to look at the list that you have right in front of me. So Patrick Cantley, Colin Morikawa, Xander Schauffele, Sam Burns, Russell Henley, Scotty Scheffler. Man, it's going to be hard. Who's the one guy that's not going to make it? I'm going to give you somebody. I think Wyndham is somebody that's going to have to qualify on his points. I think I think that U.S. Open wins really helped him be making points on the Ryder Cup and the President's Cup. He had a good first half of the year, the President's Cup, but Wyndham really is a guy that's been hit or miss and inconsistent. Like even this week, I just don't think you ever really know what you're going to get lately with his golf.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take. I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
And who that was not on this roster do you think is definitely going to be in Bethpage?
Ooh, I think JT's having a bounce back year.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think JT's having a bounce back year. I have too many question marks with Jordan's wrist on how he's going to bounce back from that to know how he's going to perform this coming year, because I don't think really Jordan knows either, but we'd love to see both of those two back on the team. Yeah, even I'm trying to think of live guys too. Like I think Brooks and Bryson seem to be the two that just come to mind, and maybe a DJ, but I just don't know if the motivation's in for DJ.
I don't, Brooks, I can't even find him on this list right now, which means that obviously he's 33rd right here. So Brooks is going to have to do a lot in these majors this next year to get back to where he qualified.
He'll have to win a major. He'll have to win a major.
Yeah. But I think Bryson's kind of a lock at this point, which I think is,
yeah, it's going to be epic. I know he can bring a lot of advice to the rest of the team on how he should run, how teams should be run. He's used to the team thing. So that's another element, right? We got a live guy that can really just unify this group.
Bring that crusher's mentality to a U.S. team room. We need that crusher's mentality in that team room.
What about you? I kind of put me on the spot on that one. Do you agree, disagree with that?
No,
I think Tony Finau is another guy that I'm like, gosh, I just want more out of Tony.
Yeah, I think if I'm looking at this list and I'm eliminating guys who I don't think are going to be there, I don't think Harmon's going to be there. I think Wyndham is an interesting, case study of a guy that's got a ton of talent and that should be there if he plays well this next year and will play well in events with elevated points, but is going to need a strong year to do it. I think the same for kind of, as you mentioned, Finau. The Gall is going to be an interesting case study too. I think he's going to keep trending up.
I think he's going to be on the team. I do too.
I think so too. I'm looking at this list and I'm like, dude, how much would it mean to Billy Horschel to be on a Ryder Cup team at an electric venue in Bethpage? And of course, he's got to go out and play well this year, but that would be a really cool one. I think JT is going to be in and around it, but I'm just kind of looking down, and I love like a sleeper, like sort of a dark horse. I love a young guy. And I'm looking at like Davis Thompson at 25th and just kind of rooting for the guy. Like, let's go out and have like a great year and capitalize on what you did this year and just sneak into that team. Akshay Bhatia at 32nd. Like, all those guys I think would be cool to see in and around it. But that was a little bit of dodging the question there. But I agree. I agree with most of your calls there. And yeah, man, it's going to be Matt McNeely at 13th.
Stop, dude.
Remember the summer of Matt McNeely when I picked him every week and just hosed me continuously? So, Mav, turn around for me.
All right.
That feels pretty comprehensive, Smylie.
My President's Cup is officially in the books. I'm ready just to kind of get back home, unwind a little bit, have some time at home. So I'm excited to. It was a long week.
Yeah, I mean, I got baby girl on the way, so we're both. It's gonna be.
This worked out great. The fact that Amanda really MVP. I know we just talked about a lot of MVPs from the President's Cup, but MVP A+ grade for Amanda, just keeping it down, and keeping little girl at bay for just another week later.
And you know what? Look, as much as I'd love to give credit to Amanda, I think she would have loved to have that baby out about a week ago. So I'm going to give the baby girl MVP awards. I'm going to go a little bit different. Okay. She's the one who stayed in there. She could tell. Now, if she can hold out until men's league semifinals on Thursday, superstar.
Dude, I'm reporting everything you just said to Amanda as soon as this is over, and she is going to roll her eyes.
I asked her, I was like, hey, if we win the semifinals, I was like, hey, how early can you take a baby like out? She's like, what do you mean out? Like, like out in a stroller or whatever. She's like, as soon as they're born. Like, and I was like, okay, great. So if we make the finals, can I take her to the finals? Absolutely not. You will not be taking our baby girl in a stroller to men's league finals.
Okay.
I can't help it.
Okay. This is.
I have to take off my assistant captain's costume now. This is so sad. Maybe I'll bring it back for Halloween and make the baby girl the trophy. We'll figure something out here. Or maybe, how about this is a good one? I'll wear just the vest and I'll go shirtless and I'll be Kevin Kisner. You got that. Good little on the spot interview there, by the way. That was way to follow that story.
That was a fun one. Yeah. And watching Scotty Scheffler hole out his bunker shot was another highlight of the trip.
Throwing darts at Red Solo Cups. You love to see it. Well, it's been a fun week, fun series of journals as always. Appreciate y'all tuning in with us and tracking the President's Cup. And yeah, we'll hope to do a little bit more of this recap on the back end. Maybe bring some guests in to tie some loose ends. But we're excited for October. Sort of a mix of different content. We're working on that Tobacco Road project and maybe some other different variety of instructional stuff as well. Looking forward to that. But we appreciate you all supporting us as always, watching and listening, and we will talk to you right back here very soon.